joining us. This is.
Hold on just a second. Okay, now it's recording. Awesome.
See, I was joking earlier, in the world of perception, we all have a challenge in technology, it appears, here and there. So, we all get to choose how we're perceiving this blab today.
Yes.
But thank you all for joining us. You all are amazing, beautiful people. And thank you so much for your contribution to the iTHINK film. And we have had some absolutely amazing reviews of all three of you. And you have just rocked it. And I appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So we already have a question here from Janet saying, what is iTHINK? So why don't you just kick off what it is? Because not everyone may have seen some of the promos from the movie.
Absolutely. So iTHINK is a new free film that my partner Ike Allen and I just released. We own a film company called Avaya. So the whole title of the film is iTHINK, Change Your Perception, Change Your Life. And you can actually watch it for free online at www.ithinklife.com. And it features all four of us in the blab today, in addition to other visionaries like Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey, Andy's brother Mike Dooley, and Joe Vitale, several other amazing people. And we all dive into the topic of how our thoughts and perceptions create the reality we experience in life. Yeah.
All right.
So cool. So let's kick it off with kind of talking about some of the questions that you had brought up, Andy, or maybe just kind of, or we can just go round robin into what everyone. Why don't you just kick it off with one of the questions? Let's get us started with it.
So here's a good one. This is something that I know everyone listening to and watching can relate to. So how do we all deal with the little voice in our head that tells us we suck?
Yeah. That is.
And who wants to start?
I share a tool. So it's part of the vibration activation toolkit that I've created. And step one is, when you hear it, realize, this negative train of thought will derail your life, and it will kill you. So kind of gives you some leverage of, like, if I don't stop this, this will kill me. It will ruin my dreams. So the phrase that I use, and I share this with my clients, and I do this on a weekly basis with my clients when their little voice comes up, is the saying is, stop, cancel, clear, get the fear out of here, because you're operating from fear, and you got to get conscious that that's what you're doing, and then shift over from the bitch train to the bliss train.
I like it. How about you, Andrea?
Yeah, that's a really hard one for me to deal with. I have, and I think what helps me in a lot of ways is realizing that everyone has it. I think that when I hear that voice saying, I suck, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing something as well as that person, I'm comparing myself. I think what happens is that I realize it is coming from fear. It is something where I'm afraid of putting myself out there. I'm afraid of doing something, taking some next step. And I think what I realize is just that voice is there to try and protect me. That voice is that monkey brain, that lizard brain, whatever you call it, from way back, that is trying to protect my feelings in some way, save me from something that seems a little scary. And so just being able to kind of acknowledge that and say, it's okay, I understand that it is a scary thing, and we're going to do it anyway. We're gonna go put ourselves out there anyway and do the thing, and not worry about being perfect, and trying not to compare ourselves, and just doing our own work. Because that's often what is causing that voice for me personally, is I recognize that it's the comparison demon. And if I just focus on what I'm good at, what I can do, and then kind of going forward and realizing I'm serving my own people with my gifts.
Deal with it, little voice.
Deal.
That's right. How about you, Sonia?
Did you hear? Did you hear us, Sonia?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that part. I heard the Onya part. Onya. But well, since I never suck, I didn't know what to answer.
Well, of course you don't
Oh
suck.
my
It's just the
gosh.
little voice in your head.
Well, you know, that little voice, yeah, is a real pain in the tush. It does come up, and I generally have to ask it, well, what do you mean by suck? Because that's the truth of it. It's like, well, you suck. Well, what do you really mean? And it's just me getting to the root of why that would even come up. Sort of like, you know, what you just expressed. You know, what that would even come up, because obviously it's come from some belief somewhere in there. So I just kind of ask, well, you know, what do I mean by that? What is it specifically that's leading me to that whole thought process? And generally, you know, you take it apart, like you says, it is fear-based. There's some sort of fear in there, and it's also a survival mechanism. We want to, that part of us wants to protect ourselves, the automated self or the robot self, or however you want to put it, subconscious mind. It's a protective mechanism. So I like to ask that to find out what it is that I'm trying to protect myself from at this point.
Right. You know, it reminds me, since all of you guys just talked about like fear, right? It reminds me of Doug Stevenson, who's a speaking coach. And I know, Andy, you know Doug, and when we interviewed him for another project of ours, he has this saying that safe is a very dangerous place to be. And every time I think of that, I'm like, oh, right. So when I do, you know, hear the little voice discouraging me from X, Y, or Z, or saying I'm not good enough or whatever, oh, right. So, right. It's protective mechanism trying to keep me safe, even though, do I really want to be safe?
Yeah, that's
And it's
great.
like, safe from what?
Right.
Yeah.
From happiness, from getting all that we want out of our lives, you know?
Yeah.
Huh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So Amy has a question on the movie. She just signed up. Awesome. Thanks, Amy. And you enjoy the movie, but she's asking about what the other goodies are about real quick while we're
What are all the other goodies about?
get some other goodies in there.
You mean, well, the film itself is free. So anybody can sign up. They can watch the entire film. It's a little over an hour. As far as other goodies, I'm not totally sure what you're referring to, Amy, but it might be the iTHINK program that we're actually selling, which is a full-fledged personal development program. And there's a lot of like bonuses and free gifts that go along with that. And actually, Andy Dooley has provided one of those, as well as Andrea.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some great
free
free ebooks of yours.
Yeah. That's right. Awesome.
And if I didn't answer your question, Amy, chime in again and I'll try to answer it better.
That was it. She said
Okay.
got it. Awesome. So yeah, that's a great question. I also have just recently seen, just going back to the question about that voice in our head, I've actually seen a number of things going around Facebook, because I live on Facebook all day, about the, you know, especially for entrepreneurs, the yes, I suck. Oh no, I got it. Oh no, this is horrible. You know, and trying to keep an upward trajectory with all of that. You know? So
Right.
it's like that sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's true. I totally experienced the roller coaster of the glass ceiling. It's a constant, you know, take a few steps up and fall down a little bit, and then another few steps up and fall down, and it's just part of the process. Andy, I want to ask you a quick question, because I know you have to get off soon. But so something that comes up a lot with people is, you know, positive affirmations and positive thoughts are great, right? But is it also important for us to really confront our reality, like when things do suck and we're going through the muck and we're going through tough times, right? Like, should we just keep saying positive affirmations to get us through, or do we have to like deal with the fact that we're feeling like crap?
No, I just live in denial. That's what I do. Yes, you want to acknowledge what you're really feeling. If you're really feeling frustrated, annoyed, down, depressed, acknowledge it, be with it, feel it, allow yourself to move through it. And then, journal through it, get on the phone with a friend or a coach and work through it and find out what is it I'm thinking or believing about my situation that makes me feel this way. And just keep asking that question, and you will come up with answers. What is it I'm thinking and believing right now that's making me feel, that's putting me in a funk or making me feel depressed or rejected? And you're going to come up with the thoughts that are triggering the emotional response that you're having to the situation. So just dig, and you'll find it, and you'll pull it up, just like you did, Andy, in the movie. The thought that I'm never good enough, or the he'll always leave me or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like that thought was underneath all that feeling that you were going through in your relationship breakups. And when you finally dug down and found that thought that dealt with abandonment and your father, all of a sudden you freed yourself, because you could then bring that thought, belief into the light and examine it and realize, wait a minute, I don't have to continue to believe this story. And you set yourself free. You're loved no matter what you do, whether you succeed or fail. You are loved, and we love you.
I love you too. All of you. Yeah, that's so true. Like, I think of the amazing results that I've been able to create for myself. And if I never confronted my reality, if I never chose to be responsible for the thoughts I was thinking and believing in, I have no doubt in my mind that I would have continued to create the same cycle of failed relationships and all of that. And I think that's a cycle that so many of us are in, and we're not even aware that we're in it. And this film and all of the great stuff you guys have shared is all about becoming aware of that kind of stuff so you can change your life.
That's right. You can think it. I can think myself into a better life. The film is all. Just watched it this morning, so yay.
Well,
but I think it's also about taking action too, and creating that reality around those thoughts, and really then moving into something that that creates results for that thought.
It's so true. I think about, Andrea, some of the stuff you said, and I think about, taking action and how important it is, because there's a level of, we can unearth all our disempowering thoughts about not being confident, and yet sometimes we need to unearth all of that and be in action to create that confidence for ourselves. So it's the be and the do, I think, and sometimes I think it's simultaneous.
Yeah, I agree. Taking action, I actually have to go right now.
Yeah. Speaking of taking action,
connecting with all of you.
Yeah, awesome.
That's
Yay!
right.
Yay!
Thanks, Andy.
Props to you.
Good to meet you as well.
Give Andy some props before he leaves.
That's right. Props for Andy.
All right.
We'll talk to you later,
Have an
Andy.
amazing day.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So I'm gonna lock the seat for a little bit, and then if we have some people who want to come in and ask questions, we can. Otherwise, we can go through some of the questions that we have and just talk about that. And if anyone wants to ask questions on the side in the chat, feel free to do that. You can also put your little. You can just ask the question in the chat, or you can ask it as an actual question with a Q, backward Q, isn't it? /Q. I always go what the official questions are.
Whatever that was.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. Another thing that we asked everyone in the iTHINK film, and something that I am constantly working with in my own life, is why is it so important for all of us to take responsibility for the disempowering thoughts we've believed in? Right? Why do we need, what does it do for us to take responsibility for those thoughts in our life? Sonia, how about you?
Well, I'd say definitely the reason that you really want to take responsibility for it is because of many of the things that were said previously. it's getting to the root of those things that are disempowering you. And it brings everything back home to you internally, as opposed to being so external about everything, which I think, that's sort of our programming, is to look outside of ourselves. It's somebody else's fault. It's always something else out there that is interfering with our lives or evolution or whatever it is. But to take responsibility, I like to say, it's not about blame, because I think that distinction needs to be made also when we're saying to people to take responsibility. It doesn't mean you're blaming yourself and you're beating up on yourself. It's an acknowledgement of perhaps the choices that you made and where those choices probably stemmed from. What is the root of those choices? What are the beliefs? What are the perceptions? And that's the reason why you are taking responsibility. You're owning who you are when you do that. Because ultimately, you belong to you. You can't get away from you. So you must find out what it is that is needed to bring more harmony or more balance in your life. Maybe it's in a particular area. It could be relationships. It could be money. It could be, in terms of jobs. It could be so many different components. They might have the same root, but there's different components. And when you clear one, when you own and accept and acknowledge, it could have a rippling effect and actually make changes to these various other areas of your life where you didn't think that there was any connection. So it's very important.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. About a week ago, Ava, so my 7-year-old stepdaughter, now granted she's been trained in the world of personal development since she was, a baby, right? So she's constantly hearing these conversations from me and her dad and her mom. And she was writing a story for her 2nd grade class just the other day. And it was a story about going to the beach in Hawaii, right? And she was talking all about getting to the beach and hanging out in the hotel room and going into the sand. And then all of a sudden, wedged in between all of this story about the Hawaii beach, she just threw in this thing about, and because I'm in charge of me and no one else is in charge of me, I'm responsible for my happiness. So I choose to be happy, and it was just God, when I get chills when I hear that, right? When a little kid gets that at such a young age. And I can only imagine, if we were teaching all younger generations such things at a young age, what our world would look like and how different it would be and how empowered people would be, and not necessarily go through a period of time where they're really struggling to get out of these patterns they've created for themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
I know.
So cute. So Art has a good question here on this kind of the responsibility, I think, tying into why not simply unpack the excess baggage and move on.
If you want to answer that, but I just wanted to say something. I think one of the things here is that it's so easy to say that, but people have different situations in their lives and different conditions and different, for lack of a better word, issues. And it's not always that easy for them. Sure, in theory, it is easy. We could just let it go and move on. But some people, it's really more challenging, and they end up having to really examine what it is that is a baggage to them, as opposed to simply saying, I'm going to be positive, because I have a real thing with that. Being positive doesn't always mean that you have cleared yourself, you're positive, but then you wonder why things don't work, because you've actually swept all of these things under the rug. You haven't really cleared anything. And so you go, well, gosh, I'm being positive and it doesn't work. In a way, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm just getting rid of my baggage and moving on. Is it possible to do it? Absolutely. Are most people able to do that? No. They end up having to process what the heck it is that I'm identifying as a baggage in the first place. Then I can probably release it. Do you have to go through every single thing and break it down? No, but it's all about just acknowledgement. That, to me, that's just the bottom line. At least you're acknowledging these are the situations, these are the issues, or these are the conditions, or these are the things that I look at as a baggage to me. And then I have an opportunity to release it and move on.
Yeah, I so resonate with that, because it's true. We have to, if we don't take a look at the darkness, the lies, the whatever, the deceptions and the things we've been telling ourselves and these disempowering beliefs, then yes, just putting whipped cream on top of that is not going to get us anywhere, with just positivity and positive thoughts. We have to get to the root of things to an extent and then move on. And my response to Art really is absolutely. I mean, I agree with Sonia on this one. That would be awesome if all of us could just, release that excess baggage and totally transform our lives and never get stuck in these patterns of thoughts again. But at least in my experience, I feel like I'm one of probably the majority of people who I can uncover like a deep, dark thought of, I don't deserve to be happy, which is something I talk about in the film when I struggled with my weight and my health and stuff. But it's not something that just went away overnight. And it's something that I could still hear it every day if it's still there. It doesn't go away. It's, do I choose to entertain it, or do I choose to see it for what it is, something that's not going to help me be happy in my life, and then move on? So I think I feel like we're all surrounded by a universe of thoughts continuously, and we can grab this one and grab that one and try it on, or we can just see them for what they are, thoughts that we can either choose to believe in or not, and move on. So that's kind of my answer to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like developing it into a story, which is what we do, because everything is based on a story for us, But I think, everybody is different. And what does Confucius say? Enlightenment need not take a lifetime, but can come in a moment. But so many people, because there's so much that we deal with in this life based on our survival programs, we are dealing with what appears to be a lot. And for some people, they've got to process. For some, it's like, boom, overnight. I've had situations like that where I get it. I'm walking down the street and suddenly it hits me about something that have been going on for maybe 10 years. Boom, I get it. I'm moving forward now because I get it, as opposed to something that could take a little while before I get to, the root of it. And it just keeps returning, some sort of pattern.
Exactly. Oh yeah, you can have these epiphanies that you've been working through this thought or belief or whatever for so long, and then you're just going to get it when you're going to get it, no sooner than that. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, and Art's saying we're imperfect beings, as such we evolve. We should always be evolving, for sure.
You got it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Well, I think we just scheduled this for half an hour, right? Do you want to bring someone else on and ask a question, or does anyone want to jump in?
Does anyone want to jump in and join us?
I know I'm going to open the seat up. So if someone wants to jump in, you're welcome to jump in and talk. Art, if you want to hop in, or you can just keep going with the questions you had, Andy.
Yeah. Well, since no one has jumped, how about, why is it important for us to believe in ourselves? Like, where does belief come into all this, right? We have our thoughts creating our reality, our perceptions. How about belief?
Yeah. I think that's just, it's definitely much deeper. That's the root of it all, right? Is believing that you are capable of believing. And I think a lot of it is programming as we grow up. That's so important. And not that necessarily it's all our parents' fault. I think that a lot of our experiences shape us, and that's why it's important to get into action, because we can do so much more than we really sometimes believe we can. And I run races. I actually just did a triathlon this summer, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I I really thought I was going to die. And I had trained. and the fact that I was able to do it and I finished, I was literally dead last in this triathlon. But I finished it, and now I have a belief system that I can. So I know I can do it, because I just kept through. I really wanted to quit. And I think that action really inspires some of those beliefs.
I think so too. That kind of goes back to my previous point of like, you look at the philosophy of be, do, have. And so you have to have believed in yourself, like, in order to get yourself out there and do the triathlon. And at the same time, being in action and doing it helped, reinforce your belief while you were doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
How about you, Sonia? Anything from you on belief?
Well, belief is always connected with, perception, because our perception is always going to be based on, what our belief system is. And then our belief system is based on programming. It could be, programming from our childhood, just so many different levels of what kind of programming that we're dealing with. And as far as belief in, I guess, in ourself, I think is what you had said before. I don't even know really how to really answer that, because it's a whole gamut of everything. And I'm thinking about myself because I've always believed in myself. So when I'm really having to think about it, I've always believed in myself. Not that I haven't beat myself up at times, but that's, again, my programming is how I was raised, that I could do anything. That was how I was raised. And so you know how that programming works. So that programming did stay with me. So I always had that. And I think that's what saved me through the many situations that I've had to deal with in my life, is that I always knew that I would always be okay. No matter how dark it was, I would always be okay. So for me, that was always a strong foundation, a strong belief. But beliefs in general, it is. Somebody mentioned something about subconscious mind. There's so much that we could talk about here, but no matter what we say, there's always going to be a myriad of levels to this. And yes, we are operating mainly from that level, from the subconscious mind, which to me is more automated, a more automated way of responding on our relationship with the world or the external world around us. And so, yes, it is based on a lot of our beliefs. Now, where did all those beliefs come from? And that's what I look at. What are the programs in there that is in your operating system then, because you're operating from that space. So belief is a real interesting one. It's a real interesting one. Could go many, many rounds with talking about beliefs.
It's turtles all the way down. One belief. So one last little question, since we're almost done, but like, in your mind, both of you, what are the benefits of people knowing this? Like, what are the benefits of people becoming aware of their thoughts, as far as what can it give them in their life?
Well, everything we said.
Yeah. I think it's everything. I think it's really, there's so much that you can do. I think that there's so many times where people say, "Oh, I wish I could do that." Well, you can. It's just having that belief in yourself, and you can do anything you want. I mean, that it's just an amazing world, and I think that we put way too many limits on ourselves, and when we break through those, we have just a short time here on Earth. When we break through those, we can achieve amazing things.
Yep. You got it. Yep. The benefits are absolutely unlimited. And, when I dove into the rabbit hole of, personal and spiritual development, I had no idea all this stuff was out there for me to discover. And it's just an amazing journey that I hope that all of you take.
Yep. So awesome. Well, I'm going to put the link to the movie one more time in there, and thank you guys all for tuning in. And there's the link to the movie I Think film, and we go into it much deeper and talk about all these great thoughts and all these great things that shape us, and how changing your perception can change your life.
That's right. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank
Thanks
you
for
both for
organizing this.
making that awesome film, Andy. Thank you so much, and allowing me to be part of that wonderful experience.
Well, thank you both for being part of it. You guys were absolutely amazing, and it's totally transforming people's lives. We hear about it every day. So you guys are part of something amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.